So we are reassuming our usual lectures in philosophy, in history of philosophy in America. I hope that you enjoy the conference, those of you who have a chance and occasion and time and patience to follow the conference dedicated to Jewish-Christian relations, which was a very particular occasion because you could hear representatives of both sides. You heard priests, even bishop, Catholic bishop, but you heard also two rabbis and also the secular representatives of both religions. So I think it was a very intense but competent exchange of ideas, and you can make your own ideas, taking impulses, so to say, from both sides. We will return to this topic in a more general approach next week when I will speak about relationship between religion and philosophy. And of course, Christianity, Judaism is only two religions. There are many, and how to approach this different ways to speak about, to write about God, about religion, and how to relate this talking about God and religion to philosophy is exciting phenomenon, and particularly, as you know, Americans are very religious society, and for them, since the beginning of the history of American history, this topic was present and still is present, as we saw also in politics in the last presidential elections. Both candidates were directly or indirectly articulating their own faith, and the followers of both candidates also were not ashamed to speak about religion. But this is one way, one problem, one dimension which is important, but is not the only one. So today I would like to say more, and in class I will answer your questions, which, as you know, I'm very curious all the time what you find interesting, what interests you, and how you approach the problems which many authors did the same but in different way. So today, so our last meeting in November, it will be the problem of media. And on the first side, perhaps it's not a very philosophical problem, but if you dig in and you see more deeply, you will realize that we are immersed in the world of media. We are shaped by this, but we are also influencing the media, which we are consuming, so to say. And the first author who actually made his job on reflecting on media, on analyzing the impact of media of our way to perceive reality, was the Canadian citizens. He was born in Canada, but the most creative ideas developed in United States. And for this reason, I consider him, and I'm not, of course, unique, that Marshall McLuhan is the part of American media criticism or American media reflection on media. So few words, as usual, I will present him, and you can read everywhere about him because he is one of the most influential public intellectuals of 20th century. So I will say a few words how I read him, how I see him as a philosopher of media, and I put also on the platform for those of you who will have time and will be interested, one of his book. He wrote many, but just to give you a taste how he wrote, how he used not only words but also images, photography. So it's good also to have a look on his way of combining words with images, because media basically today, particularly in modern world, are pictures. Now we are forced even to look at pictures. You are looking at me, and I unfortunately I don't have the same occasion to look at you, but nevertheless also this interactive session which we have each Thursday is also a process of media education. So a few words about McLuhan. He was born in 1911 and passed away 1980. So he went through education as you are studying, reading, reflecting, etc. And he was studying English literature, and he was also a teacher of English. But what is important also from our point of view, that he not only read authors, not only memorized a lot of data, titles, authors, etc., but also combine his educational process with his spiritual development. And as a young man, he was more or less in your age, 22, 24, he went through a spiritual crisis. He was born as a Protestant, but studying literature, medieval literature, he discovered a beauty of Catholic Church. And for him, it was so attractive, particularly reading Chesterton and Catholic poets like Hopkins and others. He converted to Catholicism, and it was important. He did it in Great Britain, where he studied, if I'm not wrong, in Cambridge. And because he converted to Catholicism, he had a problem to find a job. We are in 30s as a teacher, because the majority of American universities where he was looking for a job were Protestant. So they were unwilling to give a job to someone who was a trader who denied his Protestant heritage. So he found job in Catholic University, St. Louis University, and there he taught for some years, from 1937 to 1944, English literature. But what is important, between his many students were also Jesuits. It is still now a Jesuit university. And one of his students, fascinated by Marshall McLuhan and his way of presenting literature, was Walter Ong. Walter Ong is a very interesting thinker, and in my second film, I will speak about Walter Ong more. But I'm introducing his name already here because what make a kind of connection between them was an interest in the process, technological process of transmitting words, literature, and the way how we communicate, and also the technological material which we are using are influencing our perception. And Ong was fascinated by this and even wrote his PhD under McLuhan influence. But this I will say more later on in my second film. But this is important. So, being so interested in technological side of learning and teaching influence many of his students. And after he returned to Canada, and really from Toronto, where he created a center of media study, etc., he wrote his most popular books. But since all was in English, so also his books were very influential in America, and even he appeared in one of films of Woody Allen, Mr. McLuhan. So it's this connection between pop culture and high academic reflection is also interesting. But now few titles which you can find everywhere, and many studies on them. But I just mentioned three titles: The Gutenberg Galaxy, Understanding Media, and The Medium is the Message. Three films, three books, which were written in 60s. And thanks to this six books, and as you will see in Medium is a Message, they are easy to read. They are more to contemplate, so to say, to look closely. He became a kind of celebrity. Everyone was using his concepts in order to describe what was going on in media in 60s. Of course, 60s is also students' revolt and sexual revolution. So all this was very important, but the most important perhaps is that he was the first who, in those three books and many articles, he discovered already before we were speaking about globalization that thanks to media, humanity became a global village. In this moment, this very moment, we are communicating with one another independently, where we are in Australia or in Africa, etc. So global village is something very, very interesting. And galaxy, also this concept that we are connected through printed word with one another. So galaxy, like cosmic connection with one another. But two concepts connected with this, I would like to draw your attention to them. Namely, he distinguished between hot and cool media. It's very interesting. Many people rejected these divisions, that is not really corresponding to the reality, but nevertheless it's worth it to mention them. The one, cool media, or cool medium better, so the way how message is coming to us, or the message how we are transmitting it in a cool medium, is incorporates increased involvement but decrease description, incorporates increased involvement. So it means that cool media are uh, waiting for your participation, for interactive participation, right? So it's a cool media. And hot medium decrease involvement and increase description. So you are less involved, but you are more describing the way how the information is coming to you. This is a very perhaps complex problem, but to summarize McLuhan contribution to philosophical understanding of media, that this is an important field of research, an important way to understand better the way how we consume media. I will tell more in this third part of this introductory reflection to our meeting next Thursday.